We're joined now by John Brooks, the sheep chairman of the Irish Cattle Sheep Farmers Association. John, our report from Dowra Mart there raises more questions than answers about Sheep Ireland. Can you just outline why Sheep Ireland was set up about 10 years ago?
Yeah, Claire. Sheep Ireland took over from the LMI system, the department LMI system that was there before that. And I suppose Sheep Ireland was set up to accurately record information as to speed up genetic gain in a number of different traits. And they've been doing that now since 2009. And you're right, there are more questions maybe than answers as regards, maybe some of the information or some of the star ratings, and the fluctuations is a big concern. ICSA would have huge concerns over fluctuation in star ratings. As you know, sheep farming is a high labour, low income industry, and farmers buy indices and they expect them to be reliable and not to fluctuate. And I'd say if some of the farmers who buy sheep based on indices went back and checked them after a year or maybe 6 months, they may be very disappointed in regards to how they've gone. I think our ICSA believe that the system of collecting unverified data from breeders may contribute to this. The system that Sheep Ireland have in place, they collect data from breeders maybe on a number of different indices. They collect them, for instance, on date of births, on type of rearing, on multiple, whether it's single, twin or quad. They collect weights. They collect weights at different intervals, 20 day, 40 day, 40 day, 80 day, 120 day, and so on. But
and how is that data collected, John?
The breeder inputs that data into the system. The orders is on the breeder to collect that data. And this is where maybe it falls down. That data in the main is unverified by Sheep Ireland. And there's a financial reward, or there's a financial incentive, to manipulate that data because there is a reward there, Claire, that if you can, manipulate so that you'll get a higher star rating or a higher indices rating, it is a financial reward involved. Now, ICSA has challenged Sheep Ireland on a number of occasions, and the systems they put in place to check this, are very, very weak. For example, Sheep Ireland will say how they visit, so many farms, so many sheep breeders when lambs are 5 months of age, to back fat scan and to weigh and to muscle scan and muscle depth scan. But at that stage, at 5 months of age, that is not going to verify any of the previous information. You cannot tell how the lamb was reared, when he was born, what age the lamb, any of the weights was given in up along to that end of it. That can't be verified at 5 months of age. The other...
So how often should it be checked?
Well, if you go back to the original system that was there, the LMI system that the department ran, and in fairness, it was a very robust... for example, you submitted the number of sheep you had... that you had entered into for to be recorded. They came out and checked prior to lambing. They checked at lambing, the weight recorded. They checked your weights. They checked it against the data you put in. When it came to scanning, all lambs were scanned on your farm. Currently with Sheep Ireland, you have an option of putting in 50% of your lambs, and there's other option there that you can say that some of them have been slaughtered or culled before this. But with the old system, every lamb on your farm over 25 kilos was scanned. So there was the system was there, verified all them results.
And when you talk, John, about a financial incentive that could be there to manipulate the figures, what exactly do you mean by that?
Well, Claire, if you can manipulate the figures so that you get higher indices ratings, there's a natural tendency there. Even you or I, Claire, if we were recording and if there was a financial reward that your sheep was worth more at the end of the day, human nature would be to, maybe skew the figures for your own benefit, Sheep Ireland have also introduced what they call a DQI, a data quality indices. And all that is in reality, Claire, is that if you input your data on time and you keep your inventory, correct on your page, you're rewarded for that. But that has absolutely nothing to do with verifying the accuracy of the data that you've inputted up until then.
But surely, John, the more breeders that participate, the more accurate the data is at the other end.
Claire, not necessarily so. There are two arguments that skew that argument. There are two sides that skew that argument. Number one, when you do that survey or make that claim, there's actually a financial reward to manipulate the data. And the other part of it is that in general, there's what's known as outliers. And the more numbers you have, the more accurate the information will get, because it'll pick up the outliers, it'll cancel the outlier effect. But in this case, Claire, who or what is the outlier? Is the outlier the person who's giving the accurate information, or is the outlier that's giving the false or the inaccurate information? I wouldn't like to have to guess, Claire.
And John, what are some of the long-term and short-term implications of this data not maybe going through as accurately as it should?
Well, in the short term, it is costly on the individual sheep farmer who invests money, on something that's not going to perform. And in the long term, it could prove very costly to the industry as a whole. You imagine in any system or any data system, you like to build it on a foundation, a solid foundation. Well, if you build a system on a foundation of sand, after a number of years, it can come crushing down and can prove very costly for all the money that has been spent. Sheep farmers pay a levy every time they slaughter a sheep to support Sheep Ireland. There's taxpayers' money involved as well. And look, at the bottom line is, no matter what system you're in, no matter what, when you're in research, you have a duty to make sure that the data that you input is correct.
And the genetic side of it is very important. On the cattle side, we're seeing that improvements are being made in the genetic merit of the herd. How important is it that data is accurate coming out of this type of system?
Well, it's very important because, in the normal set of circumstances, with breeders or since farming began, there is genetic progress being made all the time. But if there's accurate recording done, that can speed up the genetic progress. If you use science, and in fairness to Sheep Ireland, they are using science, we'll say, genetic and DNA and that sort of stuff, that can speed up as well, speed up the genetic merit and speed up results. But I'll still go back to the point, Claire, that that if you have a weak foundation, if your accuracy isn't robust and accurate, you have the danger of it collapsing.
So, John, is the Sheep Ireland scheme more beneficial on the pedigree side or on the commercial side?
Well, it should work for both. If indices and accuracies are correct, it should work. It should benefit both, because the pedigree breeder as well. The pedigree breeder wants to make advances as well and wants to use whatever tools is there to make advances. So the pedigree breeder needs accurate information as well, no more than the commercial farmer. They need accurate information. And maybe another factor there is currently, Claire, is that the indices at the moment are given in accuracy figures in sheep, whereas they're given in reliability for cattle. And if you compare both, we'll say, for instance, in the sheep section, most of the rams, even in a breed such as the Belclare, which is all the sheep are recorded from day one, the Belclare breed, their indices, we'll say, at the sales would on average lie between 30 and 40% accuracy. But if you convert that to reliability, you'll be talking about an accuracy of 30% would come in for reliability about 9%, and accuracy of 40% would come in at 16%. And them kind of figures aren't acceptable. What dairy farmer or what beef farmer would buy a bull or buy semen from a bull with reliability figures that low? So there's a huge onus here on Sheep Ireland to step up to the plate and put a system in place that will produce accurate, reliable figures. So
ultimately, John, what is the ICSA calling for in order for change to come to the current system?
Well, look, basically we're calling for accurate information, reliable, accurate information, that the star ratings or that won't be fluctuating. I think also we have a problem with the actual system of star rating. We would prefer an individual trait rating so that, the farmer who's buying the ram can decide, I want this indices, I have a basket of categories that I want, and I can give you a few examples there, For instance, a sheep that will live and thrive in Wicklow, might live in Donegal, but definitely wouldn't live and thrive on the west coast of Ireland. There are sheep breeds specific to environmental areas in Ireland. It's only a small country. There are sheep breeds who will be known to breed for terminal sires. For example, the Beltex. If a farmer is buying a Beltex ram, he's not buying the Beltex ram with the intention of breeding females. He's buying them with the intention of breeding a carcass. You may have a sheep farmer in the south of Ireland who's in early lamb production. There's all different criteria. So I think the system where somebody compiles a figure and gives certain weightings to everything and puts the figure all together as is in the sheep stars, it's making little of the end user. The end user can discern themselves what they want. So it would be far better to have a system that gave individual indices, positives and negatives, that when the person is buying the sheep, they can decide, well, right, I want a high fat cover, or I want high muscle, or whatever it is, or I want prolific sheep. That they can buy whatever suits their system or their environment.
John, we're out of time. Thank you very much for coming into us.